let's explore how desire could affect our journey to the Pure Land. This evening's lesson is drawn from a good-hearted question found on Reddit, which reads, "Is it normal to feel lust?" The individual wrote, "I'm a very young gay person and I struggle with lust. I've always found certain men attractive and often fantasize about settling down and getting married. I wonder if this will become a hindrance to my Pure Land practice. Is it human to feel lust? Do I have to do anything about it? I would love to hear advice from the Japanese Pure Land perspective, but any lineage will do. Namu Amida Butsu." So let us begin with broad brushstrokes. Let us explore yin, yang, and the Four Noble Truths. By the way, it sounds kind of like a law firm, doesn't it? So, when reading the 81 poems of the Tao Te Ching, not only do we see various symptoms of both yang and then yin, but we also read that we are to always choose yin and forsake yang. But how does that relate to Buddhism? These are, regardless of the terms, yin and yang, these are universal human attributes. So it should not come as a great surprise that across the Himalayas, in India, they began to attribute Devadatta's qualities. They began to attribute Yang's patriarchal qualities to Devadatta, the wicked cousin of the Buddha of lore, or perhaps I should say the Buddha's wicked cousin of lore, who was known for being rigid, fearful, superstitious, controlling, elitist, cryptic, competitive, and cruel. But to have a hook upon which to hang her hat, we'll just call it being rigid. And similarly, Yin's attributes of spiritual matriarchy were attributed to Gautama, who was thought to be flexible, loving, rational, laid back, egalitarian, lucid, cooperative, and kind. Or in a nutshell, to be flexible. The more flexible we are, the more we realize that all language, there's room for all words to mean more than just one thing. Words have multiple meanings, not to mention phrases can be more than literal, they can be figurative. So how does this relate to the Four Noble Truths, the foundation of Buddhism? What is the first truth? Well, there are stressors, but don't take the Buddha's word for it. Ask a biologist. They will tell you there are circumstantial stressors. There are physical stressors. There are interpersonal stressors, and there are mental stressors. Continue asking a biologist. Well, let's wait for a second. Continue asking a biologist, and they will tell you, yes, there are drives, and those drives serve an evolutionary purpose. Not only has evolution caused us to perceive stress, but to react to stress from certain survival drives, and those are necessary. Without those drives, our species would have been wiped off the earth a very long time ago. Let's face it. If we had not been wired by natural selection and by evolutionary processes to have an earnest desire to copulate, no species would survive. So the presence of desire, the presence of intimate partnership is in 100% harmony with biology. The third noble truth is that liberation is possible. And this is where things get interesting. What is the liberation the Buddha offers us? Is it liberation from the presence of our drives, or is it liberation from the tyranny of our drives. When our drives are the tyranny that control every choice and utterances and deeds, then we are in a dark, dark place. But when those drives are merely tools that we use intermittently, then they serve us well. So the liberation the Buddha offers us is liberation from the tyranny of those evolutionary drives. And I think this is best illustrated with a story that Rob Reiner tells. I think it was in the 60s, Carl Reiner, Rob Reiner's father, produced the TV show, The Dick Van Dyke Show. And the actor who played Dick Van Dyke's wife was Mary Tyler Moore, who was a former dancer and quite an attractive person. And one time she came to Carl Reiner in a huff and said, "Your son just slapped my ass." Carl Reiner assured her he would talk to the boy about that. And so he spoke to Rob and said, "Is it true? Did you just, give Mary Tyler Moore's tush a potch?" And he said, "Yes, it's a very nice tush." And Carl agreed, "Yes, it is a very nice tush. But what it means to be a man is to recognize someone has a nice tush, but keep your hands to yourself." So the problem was not that Rob Reiner recognized the beauty of Mary Tyler Moore's form. The question was what he did with it. So let's bring this into the Buddha's path of practice. Classically, the Buddha's path of practice is described as the Eightfold Path. The final two facets or folds of the path, the seventh and eighth folds, are mindfulness and meditation. From a certain point of view, it is mindfulness and meditation that drives the Buddha's path, that helps us to practice the effortless effort of living in the flow state that is the sixth fold of the Eightfold Path, that helps us recognize the inherent impermanence in all we perceive effortlessly and automatically, the first fold of the Eightfold Path. And it is mindfulness and meditation helps us to experience effortless and spontaneous loving kindness, which comprise 50% of the Buddha's Eightfold Path. That might be confusing. Allow me to elaborate. That means being kind in our intentions, being kind in our communications, being kind in our conduct, and being kind with commerce, forsaking competition for cooperation. All those things are driven by the dynamo of mindfulness and meditation, and those are latent within the skillful version of the Nimbutsu, or the recitation of the Buddha's name. Allow me to explain. So, Jared, you ask an excellent, excellent question, and we will explore that right now. So, Jared was asking, let me just go over here real quick so everyone has a clue. I'm going to hit button number 8. And I'm going to hover. And there it is. So Jared wondered if masturbation is warned against in Buddhism. Excellent question. And here's the answer. It depends who you ask. Some people would say, nope, don't touch yourself ever. Some people would say, oh, sure, just go be a masturbating fiend. That's fine. Once again, it depends if you're taking a literal view of the teachings or a figurative view of the teachings. And then again, anything that can be done harmfully or beneficially. That's up to you. I hope that helps. Oops, wrong button. Let's return to button number 5. Here's the key to transform run-of-the-mill Buddha name recitation. Well, let me rephrase that. What is the metaphoric philosopher's stone, which turns the lead of mindless Buddha name recitation into the gold of Buddha name meditation? The answer is twofold. Number one, during your inhalation, silently and mentally recite, 1, 2, 3, and hit. There we go. Silently and mentally recite the italicized bit, relaxing into this. During the exhalation, physically relax as best you can while chanting Namu Amida Butsu. This is, of course, a Japanese pronunciation. There's also a Sanskrit pronunciation, but that's another lesson for another time. So now let's dig a little deeper. Let's explore this through the lens of neuroscience. Every time we inhale, whether we know it or not, we are accessing our sympathetic nervous system, ensconced within the thoracic or ribcage region of our spinal cord. This sympathetic nervous system has evolved to perceive vulnerably, passively, viscerally, and randomly whatever comes up. That's why we use the demonstrative pronoun this. This sympathetic nervous system is evolved to perceive sights, sounds, sensations, flavors, scents, and the like. It has evolved to to notice emotion, intention, thought, memory, and imagination. It has evolved to perceive the entire spectrum of human existence, the external as well as the internal, the physical, from the physical to the mental, from the pleasurable to the painful, from the interesting to the boring, from the glorious to the grotesque. Now, a perfectly rational response to this would be the question, well, then what am I to do with all this stuff that I notice? My perceptions could feel like a great burden squashing me like a bug under the heel of a child's shoe. And here's the answer. Every time we exhale, whether we know it or not, we are accessing our parasympathetic nervous system, ensconced within both the lower lumbar region of our spinal cord, as well as the tippy top of the cervical region that some people call the brainstem. This parasympathetic nervous system is evolved for both physical relaxation as well as mental release. That is why it's so very important to physically relax as best you can while chanting Namu Amida Butsu. So we'll practice this together for a few minutes, like a team, after approximately, after approximately 30 seconds of housekeeping. This is Lama Jigme Gyatso of the Buddha Joy Meditation School. For more than 30 years, I've spent about 8 hours a day, almost every day, studying, practicing, mastering, and reverse engineering the teachings and techniques of each sect of Buddhism so that you would not have to. Welcome, my friends, to Meditate Like a Jedi, which is made possible due to the generosity of viewers just like you. So let's go back to that technique. Let's see here. Now, I want to apologize for the visual aid not being as spectacular as I would have liked it to have been. So, what I should have done, is click this, and click this. Does it make it any better? Let's find out. Okay. So let's take a go at it. Namu Amida Butsu Namo Amida Butsu Namo Amida Butsu Namo Amida Butsu Namu Amida Butsu Namo Amida Butsu Namo Amida Butsu Namo Amida Butsu Namu 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 Amida Butsu. Now, does this make lust go away? No, but it helps us to make peace with the presence of lust, or hate, or fear, or anything else you could experience in the present moment. Namu Amida Butsu 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 Namu Amida Butsu. So I hope you get the general idea of how to bring awareness and release into the path of Buddha name recitation. Now, we're already wired to notice during every in-breath. The question is not whether we live in resistance to this mindfulness or not. And we're already wired to relax and release during our exhalation. Once again, the question is, are we going to cooperate with this wiring or live in opposition to it? There is a myth that it's very difficult to take rebirth in the Pure Land. Allow me to remind you that in the numerical discourses of the Buddha, in the chapter on the 11th, one of the passages describes loving kindness, and that one of the 11 benefits of loving kindness is that it ensures an auspicious rebirth. And remember, loving kindness is a automatic fringe benefit of a healthy practice of mindfulness and meditation. So in other words, rebirth in the pure, auspicious rebirth is effortless for all who choose to live in harmony with their natural tendencies to notice and release. So what I'd like to do is tap button 9 and take us to the latest iteration of Love and Letting Go. If you've just tuned in, allow me to remind you that the moment you have a specific question about Buddhist chanting, Buddhist meditation, Buddhist philosophy, or how to apply them, please type your question in great detail in the chat window. So Jared, allow me to give you a very crass example to your question. So, masturbating on the bus could get you arrested, which I would not recommend. Masturbating at home in a manner that does not undermine your ability to sleep at night. You know, as long as, for instance, if you're going to masturbate, do so sustainably, like a responsible adult. And from a certain point of view, it would not undermine your practice. In fact, one of the keys to Tantra, whether you're practicing Tantra by yourself or with a partner, is to bring the moment, the pleasure, into the path. And we'll explore that in greater detail in a few moments. whoops, let's see here. I gotta push the right button in the right sequence or it don't work. So we're going to play with just a handful of techniques that are very, very easy. Just as a runner will limber up for sprinting, we can play with some very easy, gentle, passive contemplations as we bring the 4 bases of mindfulness into the path of impermanence and not self. Please chant with me. Observing the coming and going of appearing circumstantial phenomena helps us to see that ever-changing one and all there is nothing permanent to grasp. As we breathe in, we can silently and mentally recite the word lots, which functions as one syllable synonym for circumstance. As we exhale, we can silently and mentally recite the verb melt, which functions as a metaphor of impermanence. If all we do is silently and mentally recite these words in harmony with our breathing, that's enough for us to viscerally prepare ourselves for meditation. Now, I invite you to silently and mentally and passively recite this for 4 rounds, assuming a round is simply 1 inhalation followed by 1 exhalation. I invite you to count with me using the tip of your left thumb, beginning on your left little finger, together. Together, observing the coming and going essential physical phenomena helps us to feel that ever-changing one and all there is nothing permanent to grasp. Let's count now upon our left ring finger. Together, observing the coming and going of resounding interpersonal phenomena helps us to hear that ever-changing one and all there is nothing permanent to grasp. Let us count upon our left middle finger. Observing the coming and going of lucid mental phenomena helps us to clearly perceive that ever-changing one and all there is nothing permanent to grasp. Let's count upon our left index finger. Let us bring whatever we spontaneously notice into the path of awareness and letting go. Now, I guess if I wanted to be fancy, I could do this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Paste. All right, well, thank you for hanging out with me while I was being a silly goose and editing willy-nilly, as I am wont to do. And now, as we inhale, while silently and mentally reciting well, let's rephrase this. We're already wired to practice mindfulness every time we inhale, but we don't always experience mindfulness because our brain acts like Urkel, just stumbling all over himself. But Urkel is not only clever but has a good heart. And if we ask our brain to silently and mentally recite the demonstrative pronoun this during our inhalation, then all of a sudden it functions in greater harmony with our sympathetic nervous system, which is excellent for practicing mindfulness. Similarly, during our exhalation, if we ask our brain to silently and mentally recite the one-syllable verb ease, it's going to function in greater harmony with our parasympathetic nervous system, facilitating greater meditation. So yes, we can silently and mentally recite this and ease as we breathe in and breathe out, whether we are clothed or naked, whether we are sitting in the meditation posture or the Yab Yum posture with a tantric partner, or what have you. Whatever we are doing, we can bring into the path of perception and release. There is a myth in Pure Land Buddhism that it is the effortless path. But if one actually reads the three Pure Land Sutras, one notices that one is called to practice a 7-day retreat. The very great irony is that in the second to the final passage of the Satipatthana Sutta, the Buddha taught that one could master the Eightfold Path in as little as 7 days. So, in the larger scheme of things, practicing an hour 4 times a day or practicing an hour twice a day is child's play. Especially if you build up to it incrementally. Starting off 5 minutes every 12 hours the first week, 10 minutes every 12 hours the second week, 15 minutes every 12 hours the third week. By the conclusion of the 15th week, you can be meditating like a pro. You can be styling. So let's just further our discussion on tantric sex. There are two extremes in a happy medium. One extreme says, chase, chase, chase the strongest orgasm you can. The other says, oh no, don't orgasm ever. The middle path says, flow from centered spontaneity. Make that your goal. And everything else, just a fringe benefit. Just icing on the cake. Whether you're giving favors or receiving favors or sharing pleasure, just bring it into the path of awareness and release. So what I've already shown you how to do is how to count to 16 on your left hand. So I've taught you how to count to 16 rounds on your left hand. That's fabulous. On your right hand, you can count sets of 16. So right now, we're on our 5th set of 16. And we'll continue until we come to our 15th set of 16. Welcome to this evening's live stream. The moment you have a specific question about Buddhist chanting, Buddhist meditation, Buddhist philosophy, or how to apply them, simply type your question in great detail in the chat window. I saw a young monk on TikTok, and he was very joyful and loving and peaceful. And as the months turned into years and he was further indoctrinated into pseudo-spiritual patriarchy, I saw the peace and the joy beat out of him. Please hang out with teachers and students who value joy and peace and love. Well, hey, Jay, I'm so happy you got a job. I hope you're enjoying it, and thank you for hanging out with me. You're the best. To you, I send a psychic hug. Now I have to remember to tap button 9 again, like a big boy. Let us bring the central channel yoga into the path of bliss and letting go. Oopsie, I think I made a mistake with the artwork on this one, so I will adjust that momentarily. Let's give that an old slide and see if that helps. A little bit more. That's good. That's close enough for government work. Okay. Let's invite Lama's teachings to blend with our heart, mind, that in the union of bliss and letting go we may train. Aha. Quick like a bunny, I'm going to hit copy. And paste. Fabulous. Hung, 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 hung. As we breathe in, we can silently and mentally recite the verb ease, and as we exhale, we can chant the mantra hung as we physically relax as best we can. Hung, 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 hung. Hung, 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 hung. Hung, 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 hung. Un momento, if you please. Now let us bring the 4 bases of mindfulness into the practice of love and letting go. May all minds of all beings be as peacefully enlightened as the mind of a real or imagined Buddha, symbolized by a Jigme one syllable seed or bija mantra. May all relationships or speech of all beings be as joyfully loving as a real or imagined Buddha's communication, symbolized by the 12 syllable mantra. May all bodies or forms of all beings now enjoy the beautiful health seen in Buddha's statuary, depicting the blissful body of a real or imagined Devi or Yatama, an archetype of enlightenment such as Kuntu Zongpo. May all circumstances or lots of all beings now have the good fortune or boon, as a Buddha's real or imagined paradise, pure land or Vanti. All visible circumstances or lots could be as impermanent and interdependent, as if they could blissfully melt into rainbow light that could delightfully absorb into this body or form. All sensual bodies or forms could be as impermanent and interdependent, as if they could blissfully melt into rainbow light that could delightfully absorb into this communication or speech. All resounding interpersonal speech could be as impermanent and interdependent as if it could blissfully melt into rainbow light that could delightfully absorb into this mind. All lucid minds could be as impermanent and interdependent as if they could blissfully melt into rainbow light that could delightfully absorb into our vast empty void. Like the illusion of the infinite azure sky on a bright and beautiful cloudless morn, which, although tantalizing to the eye, could be not graspable to the hand. Let's seal this practice by percussively chanting love and letting go's wishes for universal enlightenment and well-being. May all minds of all beings lucid yet void now be as enlightened as a Buddha's mind symbolized by a one-syllable bija. May all speech of all beings resounding yet void now be as living as a Buddha's speech symbolized by a multi-syllable mantra. May all forms of all beings sensual yet void now be as healthy as a Yidam archetype depicted in Buddhist statuary. May all lots of all beings appearing yet void now be as fortunate as a pure land of law represented in Buddhist paintings. In all compassion, may we long to free all beings from the toxic tyranny of ever. Hate, engraving, and clinging, metaphorically known as the three mental poisons. In all pragmatism, may all liberation of all others be fueled by our reliance on the Buddha's example, instructions, and students, described by the metaphor of the three wish-fulfilling jewels. So if you want, you can join me for some geriatric step-back squat thrusts, because we've sat for 90 minutes and the energy might have congested, and this can really loosen things up. And if you want, you can recite the essence of what we just chanted. May we free all through thee, three jewels. Do you have to? Not at all. You may enjoy it. So, quick like a bunny, I'm going to make sure that this is broadcasting okay. Okay, here we go. What do you think? Oh. And I'm off camera like the goody goo that I am. Close enough for government work. Here we go. May we free all through thee, three jewels. 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 So that was about a dozen. Let's see. What button do I want to click? Oh, I know. Let's click 6. If you feel I've earned it, you can give this live stream a thumbs up. You could even help support this channel. In approximately 10 2/3 hours, I would very much like to return to lead tomorrow's early meditation class and group practice. And if you are as geeky as me, may the Force be with you always.